Blue White Illustrated on scene for Penn State Media Day 2023. It had really strong back-to-school vibes. There was a ton of people in the media room today, everyone looking clean and fresh here on camera. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. This is Nate Bauer. That is Sean Fitz. We are here talking about what we saw and what we heard, for the most part, with Penn State opening up the doors and almost everybody being available to the media. But there's only one place that we can start. And Fitz, I'm going to come to you because we're talking quarterbacks, and it's a big deal. But we didn't really learn anything necessarily from today. So what do you take away from Penn State's open quarterback competition with as much as Drew Allar is presumed to be the starter?
Of course, tremendous surprise that 3 days into camp, they don't have any update on the quarterbacks. But, I mean, look, we're going to see this throughout August. James Franklin said it back in July at Big Ten Media Day. This is going to be something that runs basically as long as he can let it run out. Drew Allar, Beau Pribula also had some really good things to say about Jackson Smollett, called him one of the surprises of camp so far. But yeah, this is going to be, I will call it the song and dance for the next couple of weeks. You think you know what you're getting in Drew in terms of the physical talents. You think you know what you're getting in Beau in terms of being a gamer. Not quite as physically talented, tremendously talented player in his own right. So that's what you're going to get the next couple of weeks. We talked to Mike Yurcich a little bit today about how do you work to the strengths of both of those guys, because they're not the same player. They're a traditional pro style, traditional dual threat. We don't do that on 3 anymore to split those up, because you have to be athletic. You have to be sort of a dual threat to play these days. But those guys are going to basically do this whole thing throughout the month. And I still think it's going to be Drew. I don't think any of us feel differently about that. But Beau Pribula, he's a really good player. Like, that's the thing that we kind of forget sometimes, is we talk so much about Drew and all the talent and everything like that. I think Beau could be a starter in the Big Ten. Like, and that's saying something. And in this age, with the transfer portal, with everything going on, having 2 of those guys is going to matter at some point this season.
Yeah, and that was really a main theme of the day, Nate. And as I shift over here to somebody more my height, and yes, in the YouTube comment section, we know Fitz is very tall. We've been over that before. By the way, drop in the comments how tall you think everybody is, and the person who's most right, I'll just say that you're correct. But Nate, I want
hit like and subscribe.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to say subscribe to Blue White Illustrated. We just cost 11,000 people subscribing to the channel on YouTube. #1 Penn State football channel on YouTube. Let's get going for the 2023 season to bring you all this great content. But I'm going to do the thing that we do in the media, which is I'm going to ask you 2 questions at once, and then you're going to respond to them in the order that you want to. Fitz talked about depth at quarterback. He talked about how there's 2 guys that are really good. James Franklin talked about how there's depth 2 deep and sometimes a 2.5 deep at positions on the roster. So, expectation of how good that team can be versus having all of that depth. How do you interpret what James Franklin was talking about today when he addressed both those things as a positive for what he sees in his team, and also how he responded to the question?
Yeah, no, I think that having strong depth is very different from having top-end talent. Like, they're 2 different conversations, and that's not to diminish the top-end talent that they have. It's all over the field. You see it, right? Chop and Denny, Adisa. Like, there's a lot of those guys on this team. Nick Singleton. So that is its own conversation and leads to its own set of potential. And then there's the other side, which I think is kind of where he's getting, is, look, having that much depth and a real competitive atmosphere in camp makes for better players. And so maybe at positions where they don't have national championship talent necessarily, they might be able to get there just through the sheer competitive nature that they've been able to establish by having as good of depth as they have in this program. So yeah, I do think that there was a little bit of a duality in the messaging today of, yes, the depth is very strong. This is like we've been talking about it obviously for the last 9 months basically, since the Rose Bowl. That's a good thing. That's a great starting point. But one of the things that I took away from James in some of his comments was like, okay, there is potential there. That is a strength, but also it's not a fast ticket to 11-1. Like, it's just not a guarantee, in particularly on this side of the conference. Like, in the Big Ten East, they got 2 other teams in Ohio State and Michigan that are also top 5 teams. So that you got to get through at least one of them, and that's a really, really tall ask.
Yeah, and it's the one that they go through every year of this is a really good team. There are two really good teams, and only really one of them traditionally makes it to the college football playoff with 4 teams as it is. We are standing where we just a couple minutes ago talked to Penn State football players, some assistant coaches with the on-field conversations. I talked to a lot of defenders, and I was really interested to see, you talk about that depth in that competition, guys, and how they're responding to it. But also, we talk a lot about positional, like the camp battles, defensive tackle camp battle. Third down, I've been taking a long look at that over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Great time to check that out, by the way. Dollar deal? Dollar deal?
Dollar deal.
Sign up for the dollar deal. You can go check out that information. But third down is essentially an entirely new defense, and a lot of these guys see it as, that's a starting role and putting your strength in that position. So that depth and that talent, I'm excited to see how Manny Diaz is going to use those players. And 3 days in, or 3 days and 3 practices in, not all of that is decided just yet, but there's talent and there's areas that there's open competitions for spots outside of the ones that we're talking about. So very quickly here to end the show, most interesting conversation you had on the field here, and I'm going to filibuster by saying a little bit longer. Make sure you subscribe to Blue White Illustrated here on YouTube. You hit the like button on this video. So Fitz, most interesting conversation you had today?
I think that would be with Jaywan Sider, and this goes into what Nate's saying about depth and talent and when they collide. They've got 2 great running backs, elite great running backs in Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen. How do you harness that? How do you get those guys better? He had some fantastic answers to check out, but it was kind of the same conversation on the offensive line with Phil Trautwein, which we're not used to seeing at Penn State. The depth that they have, the number of capable bodies that they have. Playing offensive line, very hard. You're not going to see the 94 line out here anytime soon from any college team whatsoever. Game's completely different now. But you've got 8, 9 guys that you're ready to roll out there and you feel pretty confident about. You remember last November they rolled out Drew Shelton, JB Nelson, Venga Ione were balancing their red shirts. Bryce Effner stepped in. This is the kind of balance that you have to do. And when you have more players, and I hate to get so into Nate's territory here, but you have more good players, it's easier to make those balancing acts work. And I think that that's what you're seeing all over the roster right now. Still questions at wide receiver, still questions at defensive tackle, but it seems like those things are coming around at least somewhat. Again, 3 practices in, 3 days into camp. Things will change when the pads go on, and those position battles, which Nate highlighted this weekend on the site at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Definitely check those notes out. Those things will sort of come into play and get a little bit clearer in the next 2 weeks.
I talked to Dennis-Sutton. I called him a psycho to his face, and I am standing here living to tell about it. So it was a compliment, by the way. And if you think Fitz is tall, like the angle up to Denai's face when I was talking to him, he is massive. Expecting big things out of him this year. Nate. Round us out here. End of the show. Who did you talk to that was most interesting?
Man, that's tough. I would say maybe Johnny Dixon, just because I don't think enough people are talking about him. So he was good to talk to. He's quiet as a guy to begin with. So I think that necessarily getting some of the answers out of him it's hard. It's hard, but he's very confident, and I think that's maybe one of the main things that I probably took away there. Outside of that, I had some nice conversations with position coaches, which obviously we'll be featuring throughout the next couple of weeks, honestly. And then, I'll say one final thing. Hunter Norzad explained that he and Olu Fashanu picked up the game of golf this summer, and they're both terrible. So made me feel really good about myself.
And that's why we're here.
So that'll do it today for Blue White Illustrated here at Penn State Media Day 2023. As always, these guys have the juice. They're going to tell you the inside information, the inside scoop of what's actually going on at camp, so it's worth it to sign up right now. If you're watching this video on Saturday, sign up for $1, get a month of access to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. That deal is not going to last forever, so do it now as you're watching it. And if not, 25% off is also, I think, even a better deal. So sign up BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, and we will talk to you next time.